And hello again. This is part 5. Without any further ado, I will switch to the scene. And we will be talking about algol today. Let me switch to full screen. And here we go. So, the translation of the last Quindecim part on algol is the third star is called head of algol. It is moreover a bright star, red, clear. It stays actually on the north side, at a distance of considerable space from the path of the sun, meaning the ecliptic, meaning that algol has a high latitude, as a fixed star, whose nature is the nature of Saturn, and its temperament is the temperament of Jupiter. It should be known that this star is one of the strongest of the whole firmament in nativities and in the conception of things. So, conceptionibus rerum, the conceptions of things, this should be related to classical astrology, if I'm not mistaken. But if you're an expert, please, as usual, your help is greatly appreciated. There was something that I was talking about with a friend of mine about judgments, and the judgments of things through the planets, and that was referring to maybe horary, or maybe not. Again, I don't remember, but this is probably a technical term. I'm not very well versed in traditional astrology, as you may have noticed, and not even in classical, but I'm doing what I can. And let's continue. If, moreover, Mars were conjunct with her, meaning the moon, on the ascendant or in the middle of the sky, conjunct with algol, not the moon, on the ascendant or in the middle of the sky, it makes men strongly quarrelsome. If the moon were conjunct with her, meaning with algol, on the ascendant, and Mars or Saturn aspected it in the opposite direction, probably meaning through opposition, it means evil and loss of the head. Of course, if you put a malefic star on top of a fixed star, it's gonna be bad. If you put it in bad aspects through to the fixed star, if you put the fixed star in bad aspect with a malefic, then of course it's gonna behave like a malefic. Algol's effects seem to not be malefic by standard per se, meaning a talisman of algol in fact gives protection and favor, for example, but if tortured with hard aspects to malefics, then they are, meaning malefic. Just like any other star. No astrological magician worth their pennies and in their right minds would ever use a star with hard aspects to malefics, unless for explicitly destructive purposes, of course. Therefore, if a star of a double nature, meaning good and bad, is aspected hardly by malefics, its malefic side will find an open door, so to speak, through the malefic planet, and will consequently manifest this negative signification. The implication here is that this would hold true also for completely benefic fixed stars, although in a much less destructive way. I'm thinking about making a talisman of, I don't know, Spica or Regulus, and putting a malefic in configuration with them, especially through oppositions or squares, or maybe even conjunctions. Also even through conjunctions. Wouldn't yield a very benefic talisman, So it's probably better to not do it. And let's go to the next one. This is the 8th Juicy Knowledge snippet. This is also on planetary modificators theory, and this is about Capella. The 4th star is called Al-Hayot Capella. It is verily a luminous star that transits in the northern part, probably meaning hemisphere, and which is near the summit point. Again, this is punctus vertex, where is it? Verticis punctum, which is in the nominative case, punctus vertex, which is not the modern astrologer's vertex. It's probably the celestial pole corresponding to Polaris. Bene nice. The North Pole star. The celestial pole, this is important. It's not the equatorial North Pole, it's the celestial pole. So, of course, the more a star is nearer to the celestial pole, or in this case the punctus vertex, the stronger it was perceived to be, and also the same would hold true for its nearness to the ecliptic. So that's why I think it's the celestial North Pole, because it's based on the ecliptic, not on the equator, and it makes sense. So, and it has great power. Capella has great power in legal or justice matters. Esque magnae potestatis in judicis. Judicis is everything that is about, legal and justice matters, basically, as I translated here. And some say that this is because she keeps the brakes, meaning it is a bit restricted, self-control of a moderate nature. Others say that she holds the reins, which is also a figure of speech to indicate self-restraint, temperance, or moderation. Now, such a star is said to be of the nature of Jupiter and of Saturn, and when Jupiter or Saturn are conjunct with her, or they aspect her and the moon is conjunct to her, know that its virtue will double, and its signification will multiply, and always aspect both, meaning both the planets. And the signification of the one you will aspect or see the most, cuius magis videris, the one who sees the most, the one who's seen the most, which of course, I mean, it's probably what's translated today in traditional astrological texts as beholding, meaning aspecting, basically. The one that you will aspect the most, so to speak, will prevail. What does this mean? The most intense aspect cast by, or possibly the most luminous or visible planet between Jupiter and Saturn, will prevail in strength and signification and intensity of the signification given by the planet to the star. It will color the star's power and signification with their own power, and the one who is in a tighter aspect to the star, and of course the moon, because the moon is in conjunction to the star, will be will color the most the signification of the star of Capella. And then the text goes on and says, receive it, meaning use the planet, ipsum recipe, for its signification, pro eius significatore. This is a bit of a weird Latin phrase. It probably means the star receives and colors her significations from the most intense planet aspect, so use either Saturn or Jupiter accordingly. So it's interesting also to note that an aspect or a conjunction to malefic is considered viable for Capella. Points for the Renaissance school of thought. Although, if I recall correctly, Capella is the only one of the 15 Behenian stars for which a malefic is a conjunction to a malefic, in this case Saturn, is considered viable for benefic purposes. Again, now, if you put Saturn in conjunction to Capella, maybe the signification of such a talisman, of such a Capella talisman, may probably be much more it's going to be probably much more oriented toward the serious and moderation and seriousness and restraining side of Capella. So maybe if you are too choleric or too sanguine, so to speak, creating a talisman of Capella with Saturn in conjunction to Capella, and the moon too, of course, could help maybe in restraining these choleric or sanguine tendencies. If you want something more towards, more oriented, like towards the favor in legal matters, probably Jupiter will be your guy. And so I'd put Jupiter in conjunction to it, if this would be my interest. Yeah. Oh, and of course you can also just, put the moon there and make a standard talisman. Of course, harmonious aspects to Saturn, or all aspects to Jupiter, I guess, would be good, being cast by the moon. And yeah, just be conscious, just be aware of the fact that if you will put Jupiter or Saturn in aspect to the moon and the star and Capella, as pseudo Hermes says here, its virtue will double and its signification will multiply. So if you want to make a very strong Capella talisman, always aspect Jupiter or Saturn, or both. I don't know, maybe Jupiter in conjunction trining Saturn. That would be probably an ideal, if not an ideal, a very potent and very interesting election for a Capella talisman. Next, planetary modificators theory. Procyon, I don't know. This is from the Quindecim. The translation is: the sixth star is called in Arabic Algomesa, in Latin Canis Minor, which means the lesser dog. Such a star is near to the circle of the signs, meaning it's close to the ecliptic, and is of the nature of Mercury and of the temperament of Mars. Moreover, such a star makes men audacious and rational, should it be on the ascendant, and it gives power of winning if it were on the ascendant or on the medium coeli, and the moon were conjunct with it. Now note how additional effects are mentioned for an ascendant-based election compared to the medium coeli-based one. This implies that there is actually a tangible difference between them, probably due to the well-known significations of the ascendant and the medium coeli in standard electional rules, the ascendant being associated, of course, to the user, and the MC to the final outcome of the thing. Now, this is something that we discussed with a friend of mine about my assumption, that Hermes is talking about, indeed, about an election for a talisman, and not instead of just nativities, Now, such a star makes men audacious and rational, should it be on the ascendant, and gives power of winning if it were on the ascendant or on the medium coeli. So this means that if you put the moon on the medium coeli, with Procyon, of course, it gives you the power of winning. If you put the moon with Procyon on the ascendant instead, it gives the power of winning, and it makes you audacious and rational, because of the nature of Mercury and temperament of Mars. And it is not clear if Hermes is talking indeed about an election of talismans, or if he is talking about just the nature of the star in general and what it gives to people in the nativity. However, the whole text of the Quindecim Stellis is full of herbs, stones, and instructions on when to carve them, how to exactly make talismans out of them, the sigils to carve, the images to carve onto the stone. So yeah, this is a piece of star lore which could refer to nativities, but also to the powers of the star. And now I want to go back for a second to the Pleiades. Let's see, because I want to I want to see something. Arcturus, Spica, alla Corvi, Sirius, Algol. Here we go, Pleiades. So this is from the Book of Enoch, and this is indeed about the talisman. All right, let's see one thing. I'm gonna give you access to my little world. Yeah, this is the Latin scans that a friend gave me. This is the introduction. Let's see if we can go to this section on the Pleiades and see what it says. Blah blah blah. Aldebaran. Secunda stellis fixis, de quibus mentionem facimus, est val denota omnibus in celum intuentibus. E sono the Pleiades. Lampada, Arabice Coraia, Greci Virgilia, Latini autem ipsam Pleiades vocant. Here we go. Blah blah blah. Blah blah blah, yeah. Natura autem eius est natura lunae et complexio eius complexio Martis. So their nature is the nature of the moon, and their complexion is the temperament of Mars. And when the moon is with Alcoraia, meaning with the Pleiades, and would they aspect it with Venus in a humid mansion? And Mercury, okay, so it's talking about Venus, Mercury, and if it's on the ascendant or the medium celi, and Mars or the Sun are opposite her, it means clouds and problems to the eyes. And that's it. So all right, here we go. Nothing. So yeah, it's talking about on the Pleiades section, it's talking about the nature of the star, probably nativity. And then it gives instructions for the associated stone and its virtues, which are opposite to the nature of the star. I don't know. Anyway, so this whole argument stemmed from the fact that this friend criticized this assumption of mine, because I made the assumption that effects are mentioned for an ascendant-based election compared to the medium celi-based election. We don't see any mention of an election here. However, I think that it could be implied that it's talking about an election to make a talisman, since in the rest of the text, you know, it's talking about what to do to make a talisman, basically. So yeah, the jury's still out on this one. I don't know, it's probably talking about the nature of the star. For the Pleiades, which are a notorious malefic nebula of stars, cluster of stars, in nativities. If you make the talisman of the Pleiades, it's pretty freaking benefic talisman, you know. It's very useful, and I still don't understand what's going on here. But probably it's talking about the election, because Algomesa, meaning Procyon, in Starlord, at least was it Robson? Probably Robson. Robson is modern, and that's okay, but I think it was Robson that said that Procyon was associated to dog bites and you know, hot-headedness, very martial in its temperament. So the description given here, making man audacious and rational, audacious et rationabiles, and it gives the power of winning if it is on the ascendant or the medium celi. It doesn't sound like it's so bad, like it's something, it's a negative effect from the nativity part of the description of the stars, you know. So it's probably talking about the powers of the star in general and what a talisman of it could give you. And if we go and look at Procyon, Procyon is actually, let's go back to the PDF. Al-Hayot, Al-Habor, here we go. Algomesa, Latine canis minor, extella est propinqua circula blah blah. This is what we translated. So it's the sixth. So let's go and see the sixth stone. Primus, ex Lapidibus, octavus. Let's go back. Sextus, lapis digitur agates. It's the agate. Quis color est croceus tamen aliquim veniuntur nigri ali albit virgulati. Quis virtus est gratiam dare apud Deum et homines, redit hominem gratiosum spiritus eris, datque magnum posse contra magicam, stella guida meius est blah blah. So the stone gives, I already translated this, its virtue is to give favor among God and men. It makes men graceful to the spirits of the air. Favor, it gives favor with the spirits of the air, and it gives great power against magic, so it's protective. Interesting. Let's go and see the sixth herb. Quinta herba, sexta herba. Est solsequium, quam Greci litropium vocant. Flosseus ponatur subacate, which is the same stone. So it corresponds, this is sure. Cum flore pulegi est iste annulus conservat hominem sanum. So it preserves the health of man, or it protects man. Huh. Weird. Sexta, let's see. Sexta figura. A trio of maidens, a little cock. Well, we already know that. And that's it. So, why did I go back to the actual manuscript to see what was going on with the stones and the herbs of Procyon? Because I wanted to understand if those herbs and stones make men audacious and rational, or they give the power of winning. Now, posse vincendi, the power of winning, could be intended as protection, probably, or maybe not. Yeah, so my hypothesis is not valid. I mean, the only hypothesis that I can make is that these effects, as they are, how do you say, not viable, since these are the effects that happen in the nativity, it probably corresponds to what you're going to get if you make a talisman out of it, especially if they are usually bad in nativity and they become good in a talisman, oftentimes being the opposite, and giving good stuff with them. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna go 1 second to... Let's switch back to my webcam. Oh, perfect. My webcam stopped working. So let me... Oh my god. I'm not gonna edit this one out because I want you to suffer with me and see how difficult sometimes. Oh Jesus. We will be back shortly. Let's see. All right. I'm back. So in the Book of Enoch, let me go and see 1 second in the Book of Enoch. The so-called Quindecim Stellis, the list, the Quindecim Stellis list. And let's see what's in the Procyon. We're serious. Ah, here it is. Takes a... no, this is... Heliotrope flowers with pennyroyal flowers placed, etc. Grants the favor of God and man, gives man the favor of the spirits of the air, gives great power over magic, and keeps man healthy. Same things, alright. Alright, let's go back to the scene. Basically, I don't know. Let's go to the next one. However, it probably will make you audacious and rational, and it will give you the power of winning. If you make an election, this is my hypothesis, basically. Take it as my hypothesis. Let's go to the next one. Yes. Juicy knowledge snippets from the manuscript number 10, fixed stars, strength factors. This should be from the introduction of the Quindecim. I'm not sure though. The translation is: Hermes said, "Whoever knows how to rectify these 15 stars, let him know according to what was aforementioned above about the first 3, meaning about the rectification of their position in the sections on Aldebaran, the Pleiades and Algol, that he will be able to come to the truth of their power. And if anyone wishes to judge by fixed stars, he will have to know their natures and powers and properties, and in which images they were known, and in which houses and which part falls with them, and what ray and which duodenaria, which is probably the duad or the dodecatomoria, and which of the planets are conjunct with her, and which one, meaning which planet, aspects her, In this way, moreover, he will be able to find the truth through them, through the fixed stars, using the fixed stars, in all things, just as he will find the truth through the planets, as it is written in the book of the judgments of the planets. So, in the first three sections on Aldebaran, the Pleiades, and Algol, Hermes or pseudo-Hermes, whoever hides under the name of Hermes, mentions how to rectify the position of the stars. Basically, they are instructions on how to rectify the position, the longitude of the stars, due to the precession of the equinoxes and how they shift. They shift of one degree every 72 years. So it's basically saying, hey man, remember that they shift, so you have to rectify their position to understand where they are and do all the due calculations. And if anyone wishes to judge by fixed stars, meaning if you this is what I was talking about earlier, probably. If you need to cast a horary, and was it a horary? If it was not, I'm sorry. Basically, if you want to understand stuff and use the fixed stars and see what answers they give you in the judgment of the stars, of course you will have to know the nature of the fixed star which is involved, their powers, properties, in which images they were known, blah blah blah. And in this way you will find the truth through their use. This is the continuation, and it should be known that fixed stars have fortunes and misfortunes, just as planets do. But their fortune and misfortune happens due to the role of the Sun and of the other 6 planets, according to what their aspect and conjunctions are to the same fixed stars. And it should be known that every fixed star, the bigger and brighter, and the nearer to the zodiac, or the nearer to the point of peak, of summit, punctus vertex, again, probably the celestial pole, and more northern, the stronger it is in every operation and judgment. This is what I basically told you in the previously in a much simpler way. It's saying the bigger and brighter it is, the stronger it is. The nearer to the zodiac, the stronger it is. Or the nearer to the point of peak and more northern, meaning the highest it is, and the nearer it is to the celestial pole, probably the punctus vertex, the stronger it is. So, yeah. Oh yes, this is the consideration which explain this further. Stars like Regulus, Spica, and Procyon, due to their proximity to the ecliptic, or, remember, it's not just the stars which are very near to the ecliptic, or Capella and Vega, due to their high latitude and proximity to the celestial North Pole, should therefore be some of the strongest ones. Another strength factor, in addition to the previously mentioned magnitude and dimensions. Yeah, another strength factor, in addition to the previously mentioned magnitude and dimensions. Strength factor meaning the nearness to the ecliptic or to the celestial pole, or the punctus vertex, whatever that is. Probably the celestial pole. Now, this is the last one, finally. I will probably pause the video here after this one, and then we will go to the conclusions in the next video. This is the definitive, so to speak, know your stuff knowledge snippet. Now, the translation is: Hermes said, "Through this book you will be able to rectify the stars and the knowledges of the stones and of the herbs, and to arrive at the virtues of both. Then you will be able to fashion and give an image to what you want. And through this book you will be able to rectify your knowledge in the magical art." Now, what the hell is Hermes meaning here? Let's see. In the first part of the Quindecim, rectificare, as I said earlier, if you recall about the 3 stars is used to describe the process of correcting the position of the stars, from their position then to theirs today, due to the precession of the equinoxes. Here, rectification of herbs, stones, and images, and also other things, if I recall correctly. Here, rectification of herbs, stones, and images is mentioned, although it's not clear what it means. It could either mean, one, that the book, meaning the Quindecim, gives knowledge of their true virtues, thereby correcting and rectifying erroneous conceptions, rectifying erroneous conceptions, or, number two, that through this book it is possible for the adept to consciously experiment and expand on the knowledge given, taking new roads and mixing up stars, herbs, stones, and images for different or specific effects, and possibly even adding new elements, like Agrippa did. Remember, for example, Aldebaran only had the as a herb the spurge, the so-called Anabulla, Anabella, Arnabulla, and that herb, and all the errors in the transcription of it, and Agrippa instead also added the honeysuckle to it, which, as we saw, is very, it makes sense as an Aldebaran herb. So it's not clear if it's talking about a correction of our knowledge, or if it's something like, once you know this, there you go and experiment and see what else you can discover. It's probably intended as the number one, meaning it's just rectification, probably because we got almost like, 2 millennia of tradition on the fixed stars, and they never changed, meaning the stones, the herbs, maybe the herbs were more of a versatile part of the whole equation, but the images, the stones, never changed. So it's probably the rectification, but you never know. Everything could be. And this is the juicy conclusions, which we will see the next time. So let's go back to the webcam, which is lagging. Awesome. This was also an experiment, because my right now the moon is in Kazimi, to the sun we are in the new moon, so it's probably this video, I'm not even sure it will have as many views as the other ones, because the Kazimi is very useful for stuff that has to remain hidden, and stuff that you don't want people to discover. If you have to hide treasures, if you have to steal something, or to make a murder, in astrological texts, it's in traditional astrological texts, it's suggested to do such stuff during the moon in Kazimi, And there's even people in the community. Oh, holy shit! Please don't kill anybody. I'm just kidding. In the community, there's people that recounted their experiences with talismans of Kazimi planets, and they are hilarious, and they really portray the astrological significance and validity of the Kazimi, meaning the invisibility thing, the invisibility signification of the Kazimi thing. So basically, I've read of people after making, was it maybe a Saturn or maybe a Mercury Kazimi talisman, being offered opportunities to do some shady business opportunities, which had to be done in secret with very high rewards, but still ethically, I don't know. Or people, maybe it was Joshua Proto in the Stellar Sorcery group, which talked talked about wearing a Mercury Casimi talisman and finding like wallets full of money, which, I mean, you can take the money and leave the wallet, or maybe it's not, you know, ethically it's not really, you know. So it's an interesting signification for sure, and I can't wait to see how many views this video will have. The problems didn't I mean, we didn't miss problems. Problems were here. The webcam is lagging right now. It stopped working halfway through, so whatever. So anyway, that's it for today. We will go through the conclusions the next time. And yeah, if you want a consultation with me, I make half-hour and 1-hour consultations. Go to my website, go into the description box below for all the links if you want to make also a donation, if you want to donate money in a balanced way to what you perceive you have received through these videos and my research. Yeah. This has been Edoardo, coming at you from the Ivory Tower, and now I will go back to my Ivory Tower. Goodbye.